could just give us a...
Oh yeah, do you want to do us the honours of clapping?
Sorry?
Just a sync, so just clap and then it'll sync the all the...
Does that actually work?
I thought you were a professional.
I don't know. I've never done the clapping before.
It gives you a waveform peak for the audio, so all three cameras are recording audio at the same time.
And that wakes them up.
Yeah.
It wakes me up.
Yeah.
Thank you. So Eliza Batten, co-founder, Batten, right?
Yeah, Batten.
Co-founder of the Cirkel. Thank you so much for joining us on a new table.
Yeah, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, of course. To chat with us about all things sustainable when it comes to fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So looking great, but also, being a little bit considered while doing so. So I'm actually a happy customer of the Cirkel.
Are you?
I am. I got this great DVF bag. I actually should have brought it in today. So I really love your concept. I discovered it actually through Instagram.
Awesome.
And then that's how I discovered you.
Perfect.
But for those who don't know about the Cirkel, do you want to tell us what it's about?
Yeah, so the Cirkel is an online resale platform for women's wear. We make selling your clothes totally hassle-free by doing a fully managed service where we'll collect from your door, or you can send it in to us and we'll do all the work for you. So you can just sit back and relax. And then from a consumer's point of view, we aim to convert more people to shopping secondhand by elevating the online experience to feel like you're shopping new. And we do this through the use of models and professional photography, which I'm sure, as you've said, you've been a customer, you can get the sense that it doesn't feel like your typical, stereotypical secondhand shop.
Yeah, you get to really get a feel of the clothes and how they would hang on somebody else. Yeah,
because essentially, I believe there's quite a few barriers to why people don't shop secondhand, and it's about knocking them down. And I think one of them is the stress of shopping secondhand, whereby you're scrolling through flat-laid pixelated pictures on eBay, or you're trawling through charity shops. And so one of those barriers to knock down is just making it really easy, and people find it easy to scroll down something like Net-a-Porter, so why can't they find it easy to scroll down a secondhand site?
Obviously you're trying to offer a different solution than like the Vinted and Depop platforms, right? By making it, like you said, more elevated, but also you still offer the same solution, right? Like you serve to customers who want to buy secondhand, but you also offer the service of people who want to sell their clothes, right?
Yes, totally. And that we do hassle free. I think the do-it-yourself platforms are great for people that have the time. But for a lot of people that don't, that's a big barrier as to why a lot of clothes remain inside people's wardrobes, because they just don't have the time or the capacity or the drive really to get them up onto platforms themselves. And that's where we come in and we'll say, well, don't worry, we can do that for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
I know you've referred to charity shops. So from an outsider perspective, obviously being from Canada, I find that the UK has like a brilliant charity shop, like secondhand thrift store network.
Sure.
But you guys are mainly online. What was the decision behind that?
The high street is struggling. I think physical shops are really expensive, and they don't generate the same sort of revenue as they once did. More people are shopping online, and it's a really sad state actually, seeing the high street sort of deplete into what it is now, and there's a lot of empty storefronts. So what we do as a sort of middle ground is we do quite regular pop-ups, so it gives people the opportunity to come in and see us and see the clothes in person, but to have a full shop front at the moment doesn't really work in the business plan. And I think actually the other thing, I was speaking to a founder of a little secondhand boutique, and she said her biggest struggle was actually the security, and she was putting her life on the line for an Hermes bag, and she just was thinking, what's the point in this anymore? Right. So unfortunately, in the way that London is, there's the ones that have the shop fronts do deal with a lot of security issues, and I'm not ready for that. I'm not ready to put my life on the line for a Chanel bag.
Yeah, because you guys deal with a lot of designer things, right? But
yeah, we
also,
have I think we proudly have an array. It's a tricky one actually from a business perspective. Obviously, the high-end pieces generate the most revenue, have the highest margins, but in order to make an impact, you need to be as accessible as possible.
Right.
So we will sell things for £30 and up. That's sort of our bottom line. If we can sell it for £30-40, we can sell it for you.
So basically, if somebody wants to shop at the Cirkel, whatever their budget, they're going to find something.
Yes, I mean, not everyone, because I'm aware that even £30-40 will outprice some people, and that's something that hopefully when we scale we'll be able to be even more accessible. But right now, as being a startup, you have to just be really careful with your margins, because we want to succeed, and it's something I'm very aware of, being able to make it as accessible as possible, and I'm trying within the limits that we currently have.
So you mentioned scaling. Obviously, I picked up, I think, on you guys' Instagram. This week was your 1-year anniversary.
Last month.
Yes. Oh my gosh! Happy belated
Thank
birthday.
you.
How has it been from, I guess, starting out? It was just you on your own in your.
It was actually me and my
home?
2 co-founders.
Okay.
Who are lovely 2 men in their 40s. So,
okay.
Yeah, quite
within the fashion industry?
One, my co-founder Austin was in investment banking for nearly 2 decades, and then did a couple of other startups. And Julian, he was the co-founder and COO of Made.com, and left a few years ago. But yeah, so they are brilliant, and they do a lot of the sort of less glamorous behind the scenes. But they're brilliant, and they're focused on the tech, the automation, the operations, keeping everything really lean.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it works well. It's a good little team.
I'm a big believer that good business is just good common sense. So I do appreciate that you don't have to necessarily come from an actual specific background of the industry to like set it up for it to work. And
totally, I think that's actually perhaps our niche, is that they brought me on, and they came from a perspective of seeing a gap in the market, being able to create the tech to fill that gap, wanting to be the best in terms of efficiency and in terms of automation. The fashion was an afterthought, and I think actually people often think when you start a fashion startup, that's what it's a girl that loves shopping and creates it. But actually I'm the afterthought. They got to the place that they thought, we actually need someone that does know
who has
something
an
about
expertise
clothes.
In fashion.
Totally. So that's where I came in. So it's a good triangles. I think are a strong shape.
Yeah, complementary forces.
Yeah.
So I know that you guys was the idea to always do a eco-conscious or like sustainability driven.
Definitely.
Brand.
So actually, before the Cirkel, Julian and Austin did a startup called Kidklo, and it was in children's wear. So a very similar premise, but in children's wear. And what they quickly learned that unfortunately in the UK market, the biggest infiltrator of children's clothing is supermarkets. And the average price then of your items are within the single digits. Right. And that's what you're competing with. And they had the same model that we've got running now, but they were playing with items that they were selling for £4.
Yeah.
So your margins are so small. So they were having to make everything so unbelievably lean. And they just realised in the UK market, we're not there yet in terms of it working. So that's why they went into women's wear. So for them, it was always about creating a business that sort of leaves the world better than it found it. And they were trying to navigate a way of doing that, and that's how they came across this, through finding out how terrible fast fashion is on the planet.
It's pretty, there's definitely a big dark side to that. Obviously you guys are very eco-conscious from the product you deliver, but the back scene of it, there's also, I think, a lot of decisions you guys make in your operations model to make it conscious. Yeah,
so we use ACS is our outsourced warehouse. They're up in Glasgow, and they're the main player in the sort of eco delivery, cleaning, storage that you get at the moment in the UK. So They do a lot of rentals as well as resale, because obviously rentals require a lot of cleaning and a lot of packaging and dispatch and back and forth. And so essentially, to break it down, is when the item comes into our studio, we log the item in, we shoot it here where we're sat, and then it goes up to our studio in Glasgow and they ozone clean it.
What's that?
And it's this, I need to remind of all the chemical definitions, but
you can always pop up like a little definition on the screen, but in your words, how would you?
Ozone cleaning uses far less water, and it filters out the microplastics so that they're not pumped back into the system.
Right, because I think water, because I know that's a big concern.
It's a big concern. It's like when you wash things, they draw out the plastics of the clothes and then they get pumped back into the system. So they have a filter that stops that. It uses far less water. It uses no chemicals. They have their B Corp, and they're always monitoring their scopes. So they're monitoring their carbon output, all their emissions, even their just general operations. They're constantly reviewing, checking, making sure that they're as eco as possible, which is really cool. So very excited to be working with them.
I think it's something that people have been paying attention more and more. Fashion is, the fashion industry, and I think it's the entire chain connected to that, is one of the biggest pollutant in the world. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the dark side of fashion, like why we should care, why people should be aware?
Totally. I mean, fashion is the third biggest contributor to global pollutions. It's bigger than shipping and air travel.
Wow.
So that's quite staggering. You give people jip for their private jets, but if you're if you're over-consuming at fast fashion brands, who are you to talk? So obviously in an ideal world we get rid of both. But the other thing is the overproduction. It's just staggering how much is produced. It's the equivalent of 26 new items per person on the planet every year is produced.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that's a lot of items. You think the average person doesn't get 26 new items a year.
Yeah.
And you think how many people there are on the planet. That's crazy. So there's enough has been produced, and we now need to just work with what we've got. And that's where we're trying to just offer another life to all these pieces of clothes.
And maybe also like another way to shop and to think about what we want to add to our closets, because this is something I've noticed, and it really does make my blood boil, these fast fashion hauls that are super popular on TikTok and Instagram. And I know a lot of it is just people are not aware of how that contributes to the problem, but let's say for the audience that buys fast fashion, that buys into the whole like big haul trend, or who feel like that's actually the more economical way to shop, how would you have that conversation with them?
So it's funny you say the word economical, because I actually got into secondhand because of economical reasons. My initial step into it wasn't actually
for the planet.
19-year-old me started buying clothes from charity shops to flip them on Depop to make money. So for me it was like, do the selling to make money. And then as I got a little bit more disposable income, I thought, I'm a bit of a magpie. I love brands, couldn't afford them. And so I found all these little secondhand boutiques around London, eBay. I'd be always trawling my favourite brands, and it was accessing things I couldn't afford, and I got such a kick out of it.
Do you get like an endorphin?
Oh, totally. Because I'd be knowing that I'm wearing a brand that someone else has bought for an extra €0. So that's great.
And there's something about the hunt and like finding that perfect piece, because it doesn't come in every size.
The whole thing is just a winner. But the other thing then I discovered was that anything I bought secondhand, I could sell for the same price I bought it. And I was thinking, my wardrobe is becoming net zero. And what I realised was that these items hold value. They are an asset. My wardrobe is an asset. If you buy new and then you walk out the store, value depletes
immediately.
You take the tag out, its value's halved, but then it plateaus. And so that's where I've come in on the plateau, and then stayed on the plateau, and now I do not spend any of my salary on my wardrobe. My wardrobe generates revenue for my wardrobe.
It pays for itself.
Totally. So having conversations with those sorts of people that claim that fast fashion is more economical, I would argue actually you are investing money and you're never seeing that money again.
Right.
Whereas you might think that it's more cash up front, but it's an investment.
Yeah.
And you can get that cash back.
I like that approach. That's really
well,
smart.
that's how I got into it. And then
that's how you feed your addiction in a really functional, healthy way.
Totally. Well, and this is a whole other thing, actually. I was at a panel earlier today and we were talking about whether resale continues to fuel overconsumption and perhaps even perpetuates it more because then it's guilt-free. Mm-hmm. And yes, I mean, to an extent, you could argue that. I think at the moment our battle is overproduction.
Yeah.
And I think they are directionally proportional, so that if you do combat overproduction, there will be a lag, but hopefully then overconsumption will be reduced too.
So it's about reducing because it's not the demand of clothes that's the issue, it's more the demand of new clothes.
Totally.
If people increase their demand of new to me clothes, right, that secondhand, then I mean we don't have a problem because everything's in the same cycle.
And in a utopia, in an ideal world, we would all have 2 t-shirts, 2 pairs of jeans, a pair of trainers, and that's just how we'd live our life every day. That would be the most ideal situation, that you just rotate your t-shirts and you have a very, very, very bare wardrobe. But it's not realistic. It's not the world we live in. The demand for fashion, this demand has brewed over decades. Mm-hmm. It's just been continually building. And I think we need to be realistic about what we're dealing with. Yeah. And it's that sort of thing, if you can't beat them, join them. You've just got to adapt to the current climate and try and create better options for the demand that is there. Yeah.
I mean, I know that there was it a couple of years ago? I think it really got tired, but the capsule wardrobe sort of concept, the phenomenon, and I really appreciate thinking strategically about every piece, making sure that it actually gets wear. Mm-hmm. But then we think about fashion from a place where it is an expression of your personality, and I think that's where people kind of miss being able to add color and accessories and continually evolving how they portray themselves, because you studied anthropology, right? So how would you say that your academic background has probably like shifted your understanding of fashion and maybe like using it to your advantage in how you like market, having fun with fashion and understanding, like you said, what people actually do get out of having access to clothes that they feel represents them, but also with that consciousness in mind?
I wish I could kind of make up an answer on the spot as to why anthropology really pushed me into the career, but I did more sort of babies and love and politics, so I didn't really actually annoyingly do much fashion from an anthropological perspective, but I do find it interesting looking at trends and human behaviours and realising how many all the behaviours that I've adopted that are very mainstream and part of the mass, and actually breaking cycles is trickier and breaking habits is trickier than you think.
Because I mean there's I studied a bit of evolutionary psychology and business.
Nice.
And we talk about fashion and basically how we can like leverage the psychological and emotional component of what goes behind consumers' behavior and their shopping habits. And I think what you said before really resonates, is if you can't beat them, join them. You can't reinvent human nature. We all want to belong and wear things that are cool. We all want to feel unique and different, and so to be able to have access to being able to express how we are and having a wardrobe that's representative of how we want to put ourselves out there, I think is really important. And it's like, we can't change that. So how do we make sure that we can provide an access for that, but in a way that's a little bit more environmentally friendly?
Totally.
And good for your wallet.
And I think we do say that is better for the planet, kinder to your wallet. That is secondhand shopping in one little sentence for sure.
So I actually really like that you started with this whole upselling, reselling hustle as this kind of economic like that was the motivator basically. And then the eco aspect, the sustainability aspect came a little bit later. So as an entrepreneur, do you feel like, was there a particular transition from being a business entrepreneur to a social entrepreneur?
Yeah, interesting question actually. I think,
or did it just happen naturally?
I think it was relatively natural, and I think actually my co-founders helped sort of mentor me into that to an extent as well, because they always had the eco goal at heart. Whereas when I joined, I was coming from a more business perspective, with a love for fashion.
Yeah.
So actually, as I've gone on this journey over the last year and had so many conversations, I think that's where I've morphed now into actually the main goal for me has totally changed, and it is much more about impact rather than economical.
And I mean, you know, we talk about obviously like the influence of social media. I know that social media has played a big part, I think, into the way that you've been able to not just reach your audience, but connect with them and what they are looking for. So what are the ways, let's say, would you say that as somebody who, you know, has found its community online, like what's been like the benefits of having that online, like quick access community for like starting and running a business and scaling it?
Totally. I mean, so many. It just gave a little head start in terms of awareness and just that little bit of free marketing, which is, sorry, I've got hair on my tongue.
Oh, it's okay. That happens actually to almost everyone.
When?
In when we film.
Really?
Yeah, like midway.
You could do a little TikTok of everyone pulling hairs out of their mouth. There's me, my social brain. How can you exploit this? But where was I? Yes, no, having a social media following was really beneficial, just in terms of launching and having people, a small bubble, but aware of the circle. It has helped, it helps get messages across. I also feel like for my following, my personal one, they've been with me through the sort of secondhand journey for a while, so for them it seemed like quite an organic, obvious thing. So they all bought in quicker, which I think is cool.
Right.
But I do then look at someone like Kylie Jenner and the fact that she can create $1 billion business overnight. Like that's where social media is so powerful, because it is your marketing tool. And now I'm totally focused on the Cirkel's social media. My personal is like not a big deal so much anymore. And you know, that is, for us as a company, it's a free marketing tool to really push on, because marketing is expensive, and that is the way to get your name out there. So it's really important that you invest time into your social media platforms, and particularly when we are such a sort of consumer facing, I'd say we're more than just a service. People believe in the mission, and they come along for the ride.
You're
for
like
that.
a service product and almost like a hub for
telling a story.
Obviously, collaborators, I know, in the social media space are really important. You know, aligning with brands, partnering with different businesses that align with your values. Have you, so like transitioning from just thinking from a business perspective to a business that does have a social mission, how have you found it to be, like working with different partner brands or different collaborators? Like, have you found that almost like a little bit more difficult? Do you feel like that's opened up new doors?
Definitely opened up new doors. Sorry. We've worked with some really cool brands at pop-ups, which is it becomes a sort of symbiotic relationship, because we all then share audiences, and presumably if someone's following us, they're going to want to know about the underwear made from trees. So Strike and Stare is a cool brand that we've done pop-ups with.
I'm actually wearing them right now.
Me too.
No way.
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
are
God.
so good.
Underwear sisters.
Little plug, they are the most comfortable
Yeah,
pants
they're very comfy
on the planet. And they're biodegradable. So cool, no brainer.
Their packaging
their
too, which I
upstairs.
really like. Shut up.
Yeah, you should go say
Oh my
hello.
God, we will.
Yeah, no,
Thanks.
and they're really cool. And in London bags that are all made from waste, natural, sustainable skincare, and it's so cool to be able to share audiences, because we're not competitors. We are all striving after one very important goal, so we can grow together, which has been really fun.
I like that, because I think when people talk about startups and businesses, and I think there's only so many ways that we can reinvent the wheel. At the end of the day, it's all about taking what currently exists and just making it better. And I really appreciate businesses that usually these local social enterprises have that mindset of being like, there's no need to flush out the competition. There's there's enough for everybody.
Totally.
If we work together.
And you think of when you're shopping new and you walk down a high street or you go online, there are so many options, and we almost need, in order for it to become impactful, we need lots of options. We need people to be able to think, okay, I need a new dress, and have a plethora of platforms to pick from.
Right.
So I definitely encourage other players to come join the game, because we're all after the same goal.
That actually brings me to one of the things I was curious about, because so men's fashion in this sort of secondhand ecosystem.
Sure.
I don't know much about what's going on in that industry. Mind you, I'm obviously not like the target demographic. Yeah. But do you want Sam?
Time to shine.
I do charity shop, so.
You do charity shop?
Yeah, all the time. But I prefer that than going to Station. Just find better stuff, better quality. So.
Is there any service like that? Because you do mostly women.
Only women.
Only women.
Yeah. I get asked this all the time.
Do you do
when
men?
are you doing men's? When are you doing men's?
Yeah.
And it's more often than not men asking me, my friends or whatever, say, when are you going to do menswear? And I go,
your friends, like your girlfriends? Or?
My male friends.
Okay,
sorry.
I thought you were going to say because my boyfriend needs to take over.
That's shite.
Please help.
No, it's my male friends are saying, we want to get a piece of the pie. And I just say, do you have anything that you could sell? And most of them don't. I don't want to stereotype men by any means, because there are some amazing fashionistas out there. But most of the men I know, it's just different. They wear their clothes to the ground. They're almost by default.
Yeah, you can just say they really do own
my
3 good
boyfriend
shirts. Yeah,
has not updated his wardrobe in probably 3 years, and he's had t-shirts in there that he's had for a decade, and his shirts he's worn for the past since the noughties. So
I know they can really get away with that.
Yeah, I mean, because they're trends. There's a whole thing. The whole market is just targeted at women, and it's trend led. And fashion's always changing, and events. Women want different dresses to wear, and men can often churn out the same suit. So there's just not quite the same market. I think when starting a business, you want to know that there's going to be demand out there and interest. And with women, it was sort of a no-brainer. With women's wear, there would definitely be demand and interest because of how fashion is targeted towards them.
And I mean, would you say, because in general, I think, because obviously the Cirkel has its own following, you also have your community, and that's how people discovered the Cirkel. I guess they're mostly women.
Yeah. My demographics are something like 88% women.
So on a personal level, or like just in terms of your personal journey, obviously you got into the sustainability minded way to run a business just through this like organic transition. And I think that that's very understood in how the Cirkel has like come to life. I feel like it's a yes, but how would you say that journey has impacted the way that you make other choices in your life as just a consumer, outside of just fashion?
No, that's a really interesting question, because I've become so much more conscious in all other avenues, because my recycling, and I know recycling, because so many people say recycling is just, there's no point, because it doesn't actually do that much. And if you go to a recycling plant, so much doesn't actually end up getting recycled because people put in the one wrong thing into the bag and the bag's void or whatever. But just in terms of my awareness, it's otherwise I feel like a big fat hypocrite. So I'm just more aware. I wouldn't say I'm perfect in every other avenue by any means, but just having that awareness, I did not have that before.
Yeah, I think it's like, what's the expression? Once you're awake, it's really hard to go back to sleep.
Totally.
And
just
see it
this
everywhere.
is the thing about my shopping habits. I can't go in. I used to love Zara. I mean, I genuinely would go in there every week.
It's okay. Me too. Same,
When I was at university, I'd do freaking mass orders and send it all back. It makes me feel sick now, sick to my stomach.
Hey, this isn't part of the regular episode, but a quick heads up before you continue listening. You're going to notice our audio is going to shift slightly, and that's because we had a few tech issues, unfortunately. We did our best to clean things up because the rest of the talk is honestly so interesting. So thanks for bearing with us and enjoy.
And I still, if I've got time to kill, I'll just have a peruse, and it just doesn't do anything for me anymore. There's no excitement there. I'm just thinking, oh, it's all the same, you've got...
I know, there's something not special. I get that because I used to shop. I mean, who didn't, right? In your teens, and you don't have money, and that's what's cool. And you want to dress like how everyone else dresses. My good girlfriend Maisie, her daughter, she's like 14, and it's like looking the same and having the same clothes as all your other friends. Like, you don't want your own identity. You really want to be with the cool kids. So I get that, but I think everybody is allowed to have a bit of a redemption arc as they get older and they mature.
And actually, I do have some pieces from Zara that I bought 6-7 years ago that I still cherish and love.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier to make less educated and considered decisions when the price tag's low and it's there so readily available.
It's funny, it's like the expression no-brainer. Yeah. And you think, you're not really using your brain because you don't need to, and actually it's like at the expense of what? Yeah. No,
and if if I'd known that item that I was buying in Zara 6-7 years ago was going to last me 6-7 years, that was the right decision. Yeah. But
I feel like old Zara stuff though used to be made a little bit of a higher quality. That I'm not surprised that people have kept stuff for a while. But look, at the end of the day, I do think that if there's anything worse than buying fast fashion is to buy fast fashion and actually not wear it.
Yeah, totally.
That's really wasteful.
And it's easily done. The statistic is in the average wardrobe, in the average female wardrobe in the UK, there's 11 items new with their tags. So that's pretty crazy. And I can tell you firsthand from going to a lot of wardrobes and helping clear them out, there's a lot of new with tags.
And that's so sad because I think, you don't get a lot of enjoyment out of these pieces anyways. It just adds clutter, and I mean, obviously somebody else could find a treasure in
Totally.
that. Yeah.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Totally, or women.
Yeah.
But you said something really interesting about, the fast fashion and when these decisions are a no-brainer. Sometimes people just don't know better. And I think there's a big educational component to, just educating your consumer base who are already interested in sustainable choices, but also the masses.
Totally.
So how do you, or how does the Cirkel address that?
I think that's the issue actually, is trying to make secondhand resale and rental mainstream, and how we push it into the mainstream, and what can we do in the next decade that makes it people's first choice. And I think one of the ways, and one thing we'll see a lot of hopefully in the next decade, is technical advancements. Things like using AI. I think at the moment, shopping secondhand, user experience.
AI though, so scary.
So scary. It's a terrifying world, isn't it? But if we harness it and use it for good.
Yeah, use it for good. How does that happen in fashion?
Well, so if you go on Zara and they've got their new collection and it might be 200 items, and you can scroll through that relatively easily and digest it and consume what you want to consume. At the moment, I think we have something like 16,000 items online.
At the Cirkel.
Wow. And they're all one-off pieces. Okay. How do you begin to filter through that? Right. How do you make this the best user experience so that people can find exactly what they want to find? And a lot of that will be through AI, where you click on something and then what recommendations come up and what the algorithm then pushes towards you. I think it's something Vinted do quite well on their For You page.
I know.
The algorithm is as such that it generates things that they think you'll like.
I know, it works.
Yeah, but that's great. And then it makes you go back again and again. And that's what we want.
Yeah.
So there'll be things like that. Even using, we had a look at the beginning when we started the Circle at AI models, so ultra realistic human models.
Oh, okay, like to wear the clothes.
To wear the clothes.
Them? Okay.
And they're not quite there yet at the moment. Human beings are better. But who's to say in 5 years' time? So that could potentially help operations become even leaner, everything faster. So that would be a really cool advancement, because at the moment we use human beings, which at the moment we find to be the most efficient, because dressing a person is much quicker than dressing a mannequin or hanging something up.
Mm-hmm. You also get to see how the clothes hang on people, which I think it doesn't quite replicate, but it does bring it to the closer organic experience of like shopping in a shop, right?
Hebe,
Yeah.
are they RFD tags? Is that what they're called?
We don't have them.
No, but is that what it's called? RFD?
Yeah. I don't know what is it RFD?
Could you just Google?
What does it stand for?
I don't know.
Well,
I know what the tag is.
Okay.
I will just want to. Is it RFD tags?
RFID.
Thank you.
What's that?
RFID tags, now we confirmed. RFID tags are these little, they can sort of range in sizes, but they get tagged to the item and they're like a chip.
Okay.
And it harnesses the information of where it was produced, how many times it's been bought, how many times it's been resold. So I think it'll be really interesting information, not just for resale platforms to be able to track the items, but also for new brands being able to track. So this dress is a Cirkel number, it's C New York. And if this was RFID tagged, C would be able to track its lifespan and its life cycle and then generate really accurate reports about their clothes.
Interesting.
And so that will make people more aware, hopefully more accountable for where their clothes are ending up.
I've actually seen this, I don't know if it's the exact same thing, but in the way that companies are using NFTs.
Yes.
And this sort of, I think they're called digital passports, where it's like really high-end priced items, and it really comes into also certifying the source of where the different components were sourced from and where it was made. And so you've got this entire, because I think transparency is an issue, right? Companies and how they make things, and it's like, great, we have, it's organic cotton, but like what factory was that made in? And so I think that technology is bringing that level of transparency, and I think the more information, the better, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it will make it easier for platforms to be able to just generate all the information, scan of a tag, information goes into the system, and then you make it online.
That's great.
Yeah, so things like that just create a more scalable and efficient business model, but also make the user experience better, is the way that's how resale, or one of the ways that resale will become more mainstream.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is engaging brands to get involved in resale. It's a massively booming market, so they'd be silly not to try and get involved to get a piece of the pie. But they're the ones that can actually make a real difference.
Because they operate at such a scale.
Yeah. So getting them involved and I suppose also brands at the moment are relatively short-sighted, because they create an item, they sell the item, and then that's it. And actually they could harness more revenue from that item that they have created, because that item will probably be getting resold somewhere.
Right.
And they see nothing for that. So it then would incentivize brands to create items that will last the test of time and generate revenue again and again. Because unfortunately, it is the financial aspect that is going to drive brands to make a change.
Yeah, I know.
A proper change.
Yeah.
They can greenwash a change, but to make an actual change.
Yeah, so speaking of greenwashing, because I think most people have an understanding of that word. I think we see it also a lot when it comes to like food, organics with an X, and, that sort of branding and whatnot. What are some of the greenwashing trends that you know are happening in fashion specifically, and how can we as consumers be a little bit more careful?
I think some of the new brands that are creating their own resale platforms is just for the name. Yeah. Pretty Little Things marketplace is almost just another avenue. If someone's missed their returns date, they have another avenue of recouping some of their losses. And so that I find quite frustrating, because they don't care enough about their marketplace to really invest the time into making it the best marketplace. Because it's our entire business, we're going to put all our energy and our time and our resources into making it the best possible system. They're more focused on selling new, because that's where their priorities are. And so it's a shame that then they create an average version of what could be amazing, rather than maybe outsourcing it to a player that's going to really make it exceptional and therefore get more people to buy into it. But at the moment, if they've got a subpar marketplace that is genuinely just people shoving their returns on there that they missed the date for, it doesn't do anything to curb really overproduction or overconsumption.
So what are things for people to look at or to pay attention to or to research if they want to buy a sweater, let's say, but from a brand that's a little bit more sustainable? What are the things to watch out for? I guess just digging deep.
Yeah, I think you can do the research obviously about all the ingredients, the fabrics, but I think it's just got to be that really considered. What is the impact of my purchase, and am I actually going to get use of this?
Right.
That's if you really just consider every purchase and there's no spontaneity. But no, it is a minefield, and it's something I still grapple with, being a recovering shopaholic.
Right.
So I understand it's not always easy, and I still don't know. I mean, I list fabrics every single day, and I still don't know necessarily the exact components and implications of each one. So we're always in progress.
Well, I think that's really interesting, because even if you're not buying secondhand per se, you can still make a little bit more of a conscious choice in your purchasing. Like you said, if it's like, do I really need to buy this? Do I have something at home that's already similar?
Yeah, shopping from your own wardrobe. Definitely.
I like that. Or from your friends' wardrobes.
Or from your friends, totally. But I think actually I often will see, for example, someone on Instagram, flashed, someone on Instagram wearing something seriously cool, and I just think, oh my god, I need to recreate that. Where do they get their stuff from? Oh, let's go and have a look.
Yeah.
And actually, if I just dig a little deep in my wardrobe, I can recreate the vibe.
You're like, no wonder I like that.
On.
Yeah, I've got something similar.
Totally. Yeah. Oh my god, it's like, I'm always drawn, and the girls will vouch here, is I'll pick something off a rack and go, oh my god, I love this, and then
Don't you already have that?
You literally have that.
Yeah, I'm the
no
same.
wonder you love it.
I think it's a phenomenon that happens to everyone.
Yeah.
I find personally that doing an inventory of my wardrobe, like every season or every 3 months if I can, like it's incredible actually how often you go, oh my god, I forgot I got that. Yeah, and then it feels brand new. It's like having goldfish memory, where it's like, oh, great, and you get to enjoy it all over again.
Yeah, and challenging yourself to actually wear everything in your wardrobe and try and style things differently. And sometimes I did challenge myself that a few months ago. And I sometimes did come into work and didn't feel that cool, but that's when I knew it was time to let that item go, put it back into the market.
Oh, that's fair. Okay, so like that's a very good gauge to.
Yeah. If you don't wear something for a year, you're not gonna wear it.
Oh, okay, so a year.
I'd say a year. Right. And I still kid myself with some items into thinking that I'll give it another few months. I'll wear it next winter. I know I will. And the winter comes and goes, and the coat remains unworn. And it's so hard as well, because trends all do come back. So often I'll be selling something and thinking, I know that give it 5 years, this will come back. Or those horrible ghosts that haunt you that you did once have it. But I think just live in the moment. Who knows what 5 years is going to say, and if you're not wearing it, just sell it on.
Well, I know that you say, and this is a really cool wardrobe hack, obviously, the whole like having a wardrobe that pays for itself. So I'm sure by now you've got a lot of practice and you're very good at like culling the herd, if you will.
Yeah.
But are there any special items and pieces that you actually do hold on to, and why? Like, what makes those pieces
Oh no,
special, you know?
I definitely do. I found a secondhand, redone, that's the brand name, suede tassel jacket, and it's so weird. I gravitate towards anything suede and tassel-y, and I actually don't wear suede and tassel-y
It's
that
that
often.
cowboy girl in you.
I love it.
I get it.
But I actually don't feel that I don't have many days where I wake up feeling like a cowgirl.
Yeah.
So my suede
Oh,
tassel
these you
jacket
do.
doesn't get
Yeah.
thrown around that much. Also, you've got to have the suede is annoying because you've got to have dry
Weather,
cool
which
weather.
is really hard in British climate.
Impossible.
Impossible.
But it's just one of those things that I just stare at it and I treasure it and I love it and I knew I got it for such a steal. But it is one of those things that I do also have a little side eye, and I think if I came across hard times,
Oh,
you know,
smart. Interesting.
I know that you hold some value.
Ah.
But no, I definitely have some pieces that that mean a lot. My granny had a dress from the 70s that I fit now, and I wouldn't say it's actually in fashion, but it's a really cool, quirky dress, and that's something I will just never, ever part with.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are some special pieces.
I get that. I think that's it. There's an emotional component and an attachment to clothes, and I think it's just about finding the right balance where it's like, is this attachment really because there's something truly special about it?
Yeah.
Or is the attachment more because, you know, you've got hoarding tendencies that you need to bring?
I think also people feel, oh, but I spent money on it, so it would be a loss. But if anything, it's taking up rent space in your wardrobe, and rather than not wearing it, you're better off cutting half your losses and selling it on, and using that money for something else.
Well, I know that in terms of like reselling and have it like thinking, because I guess you must think about that, right? When you buy an item, you think about the resale value it would have. You wouldn't buy something that you would basically not get anything out of, right?
Literally never.
I think I heard you in another interview talk about how denim is the one thing that's not worth buying new because
never.
of that. Do you want to like walk us through why?
Yeah, it's denim is a funny one. Firstly, it wears so well, so denim lasts forever.
And the older it is, I feel like the more
cooler.
Yeah, it's
totally.
cool. Yeah.
But it also doesn't retain its value from when you buy it new. So, for example, a pair of A-gold jeans you can buy new for about £250. Expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
You walk out the shop, they will drop down to £70.
Oh.
So they lose their value really quickly. Yeah. People just probably because there's such there's so many of them on the market.
Yeah.
So it's sort of flooded, so the value's down. But it means that if you buy them for that £70 or £60-70, you can wear them for 2 years. They won't lose their wear because denim wears well, and you'll be able to put it back on the market for £60-70.
That's so smart.
So for me, the denim thing is an absolute no-brainer. My conveyor belt of denim. Oops, sorry, I need to hit the mic. I've got a conveyor belt of denim, of secondhand denim. It's just the easiest to buy. I actually don't really sell that much of it though, but jeans are such an enigma. I spoke about this before. I'm always on the hunt, and I feel a lot of people are. My mum and I talk about it. We're always on the hunt for a perfect pair of jeans.
Yeah, jeans are the worst.
Always on the hunt. So when I find one that's nearly perfect, I get it, take it home. Then the next few weeks later, oh, it's not one nearly perfect, get it. There's never the perfect pair. We've got to all just cut our losses. It doesn't exist.
How does it work for you guys, Sam who's in the back? Jeans, do you guys still have the same issues where it's
I think it's more down to the fit. Like you have, because you can have like your kind of like your boot cut or regular and then slim and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It really like differs, and it depends on like what you like. But
once you found a pair,
once you found a pair, you just stay in it. Like I've had the same pair now for like 3 years. I've like had a bit of weight gain and stuff as well, so I've had like differ. But normally there's like one or two that you always like go for basically all the time. So wear them in until they got holes, and then.
I know there's always that pair of jeans, or even like that piece of clothing, whatever it is, that you just love so much and you wear it to shreds.
I know, and it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But that's great.
It's great. It means you gave it a really good life. That's what you should celebrate.
Hebe,
Hi.
what's the statistic on jeans, the water? Do you know how much water? Remember we had a debate about it. It was more than hamburgers.
Yeah, it's like
What?
20 people being.
So this is the other thing, white buy denim.
10,000 pieces.
10,000 litres of water in one pair of jeans.
To make a
pair of jeans.
10,000 litres or one.
For one pair.
Wow.
So that's the other thing,
That's
is you should
horrifying.
not be buying new denim. They have such an impact.
I'm just trying to think, like, we'll go, I guess, like, the cotton and
Ooh,
the...
cotton.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So that's another reason definitely to be buying second-hand denim. That should be the main reason.
Yeah.
And the economics makes
Yes,
sense too.
yes, well, both.
Yeah.
You know, whatever resonates with different people, like that.
But there's just
your
no,
message.
you know, in terms of denim and how it wears, there's just, it's definitely wears the best.
So if you did have to buy something new, what are brands that you do recommend or that you trust to buy? Because you know that like their entire mission and system is set up to be conscious.
Genuinely, the only thing I've bought new, probably in 2023,
Apart from underwear, obviously.
would be underwear. I think that is just the only thing, and Stride and Stare, and my pajamas are from Stride and Stare. But I'm trying to think.
I do feel like there are things that are, I mean, who buys secondhand?
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
No,
It's not
no.
something that's
So that's why Stride and Stare are clever.
Yeah.
Because that is a responsible alternative. And they're really pretty. But what have I bought you? No, I don't. I'm trying to think what you need. I buy my basics, like the last t-shirt I bought was from the Cirkel. So, you know, I think there's more options now for casuals.
Yeah.
It's not just event dressing to buy secondhand. You can buy your casual wear secondhand too. But I'm trying to think of like actual basics that, okay, I might not, if I wanted a long sleeve, my long sleeves I've had for 10 years.
But basics I feel like are really hard sometimes because those are the things that people wear a lot. So, you know, shopping, let's say at a thrift store, you kind of see that it's quite worn out. The stains and all that. I think maybe there's also this misconception a little bit about old clothes are old. And they're old looking. But I guess there's a whole triage process that you guys do to make sure that you are able to offer things that aren't too worn out.
Yeah, and so a lot of the basics are new with tags. People have just bought the wrong size and have forgotten to return or don't need it. But that is a good question, and I wish I could offer alternatives, but I literally have everything at my fingertips in this room, so there's no excuse.
I mean, even candles. Like the other day, my flatmate, she bought this amazing Dalesford candle.
Oh, nice.
And she got it at the charity shop.
Nice.
It was like £5. So normally it would have been like 45. So you really can find it all.
Yeah.
I think you just have to get into like a new habit of thinking.
Yeah.
And maybe like getting a new habit of where you're looking.
Totally. And I think once you break that cycle, and make it a habit, it's actually becomes then very easy to incorporate until it becomes your obvious first port of call.
Creating a new path of
And you know, you won't always find, I do understand people who shop new, you can't always find on the secondhand market. And the reason that I do is because I'm exposed to it every single day. But I think it's just making, if I could tell anyone, it would be please just check secondhand or rental first.
Yeah. And then if
you really can't, you come up dry, then you try. Like that's all we can ask, and hopefully as in a few years there's more players, there's more options, and there's more availability, it'll be a different story.
I think that's a really good tip of like self-discipline. It's kind of like being in a store and looking at something and not being sure. And you know, the trick is I'll put this on the side, I'll go for a coffee, I'll think about it, and if I still absolutely love it and I'm obsessed with it, then I'll come back. So I guess it would be kind of the same model where it's like do your due diligence, look in secondhand, and then but at least I think it does help your mindset though, even putting in these little like thinking practices.
Totally.
So that you can buy
and also I think we upload between 100 to 200 items a day.
Oh wow!
So there is a lot of options.
Busy bees.
I remember actually when I was at school, I remember when I used to shop on Topshop, and they would always say 600 new styles a week, and I just remember that really vividly. 600 new styles a week. And I remember being like, oh my gosh,
that's terrible.
That's crazy. But now we're being able to we're pushing out about 600 new things a week, but new to you, not actually new.
I know that, because you think about decades ago and how people considered dressing, and it wasn't a thing before, and it really blamed the internet and social media about this whole, well, everybody's always wearing a new outfit and their picture. No, and it's been crazy to actually hear younger people, we're young, but people just say, oh no, I like to have a different outfit every week. And when you think about the elegance of how people used to dress, because they invested in really nice key pieces and they worked with their wardrobe and they were very strategic to make new outfits with the same thing. I don't know, I feel like there's something quite beautiful and elegant in that. And
totally.
Yeah.
Very chic.
Very chic, I think, it's very chic to be thoughtful. I have a couple of quick flash questions for you. Fun ones. Do you have any sustainable hero in fashion or outside of fashion?
My not guilty pleasure is watching Manisha Lamana's Instagram.
Okay.
She just tears down all the big, terrible players. And she does it often by just cooking a recipe at the same time. And it's really engaging content with a really powerful message. So a little shout out to her.
Okay, cool. We'll pop her up.
Totally.
Screen. Recycled or upcycled fur? Yay or nay?
Sorry, fur.
Fur.
Oh.
Sorry, my accent.
I feel like if it's already been produced, then it's better to get use out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, both.
Okay. Case per case situation. Favorite part about being a social enterprise business owner, and least favorite part.
It's extremely fulfilling, and I love waking up with a purpose every single day. It also can be, on that note, very thankless, and it feels like an uphill battle constantly, and it's sometimes hard to see the light at the end of the tunnel. In terms of,
don't discourage us. What's next?
No, but do you know what I mean? As in, like, it is. You wake up, and on the one hand, you're like, I'm doing this amazing thing, and I'm really making an impact. But then sometimes it feels so much bigger than you, and we are so in the infancy as a whole industry that it seems quite daunting and scary, and the statistics just aren't getting better. And so it's that's the best and the worst.
I love that you say that. If I can share my perspective, because that's a little bit what inspired A New Table is, I think these big problems, these big questions to answer are, I think have brought on a lot of apocalyptic thinking about this world.
Totally.
And people are so depressed, have no hope. They're like you said before, I know recycling just plays a tiny part, so what's the point?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people will think that way, even at a bigger scale, even if I switch my wardrobe and I do that, what does it matter? And I will always think back, and Sam knows this story, at this farming event that I went to in January, the Real Oxford Farming Conference, and they flew in this amazing regenerative farmer from the US, I forget his name, but they were going around, he was sitting on this panel, and they were asking this question about how do we feed the world, right? And everybody kind of gave the answer. So everybody had their answer too, we feed the world by thinking this, and that. And then this guy's there, and it's his turn to answer the question. And he goes, I'm gonna butcher his southern drawl. He goes, well, that ain't my problem. My problem, what I care about, is how do I feed myself? And then how do I feed my family? And then once I do that, I think about how do I feed my village? And then once my village is fed, I think about how do we feed the village next door? And if everybody thought about that collectively, then you have the answer to your question. And it blew my mind, because I think sometimes we zoom out so much that we kind of sort of almost dilute what our little step-by-step impact can have, because we're not alone. There's hundreds and thousands and millions of people that do small little actions collectively, and if we just do our part, I don't think it's lost.
No, and if it was lost, I wouldn't be doing this. But sometimes you can wake up and just think, my God, it feels like a big fight.
Daunting.
But then again, if you, as you say, break it down, and all it takes is if everyone just changed their shopping habits and had just 20% of their wardrobe secondhand, the impacts would be huge.
Yeah.
So it's just about chipping away and just trying to keep going, keep putting clothes back into the system.
What are the moments that bring you back into feeling inspired and keep you going forward?
Walking into this room, it's so fun. The energy in here is great. We've got a really cool team all sat over there, staying very quiet.
But they're lovely.
Yeah, they're fab. And seeing all the clothes and hearing from the customers who have loved using the service, hearing from our sellers that feel like they've wanted to get their clothes into the market but haven't had the time, and the fact that we can do that for them. I think that's what keeps me going. And also just the little wins. We're about to hit, I think, 40,000 followers on Instagram, and once we do that, it'll feel like a real
amazing
turning point, and then it's on to the next, and it's on to the next. So I think I love the challenge, and it's all about enjoying the road, enjoying the journey.
And so on that note, what's next for the Cirkel? How can people support you guys now, and what do they have to look forward to?
I think we're only getting bigger, so we're only going to have more things available to buy. We're really working on always improving our user experience. That is at the forefront of our priorities at the moment.
Which is very digital based, right?
Which is very digital based. But I think it's scaling for impact is the sort of long-term goal. In the foreseeable, we've got actually a really exciting thing coming up, but I don't think I'm allowed to say it just yet. So that will be hopefully signed, sealed and delivered on Tuesday.
Ooh, cool.
So,
okay, keep us posted.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Awesome.
Actually, by the time this goes out,
we're going out in August. Okay. So you'll just have to let us back.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we'll do the underwear. We'll do the underwear collab.
You actually do need to go and have a word for sure. But no, that's just I don't know. I'm now literally about to hit a Friday rule.
So in the meantime, people can find you online through Instagram.
In the meantime,
I'm here.
Thank you, keeping me on the straight and narrow.
The website.
In the meantime, the Instagram is the Cirkel, but we spelled weirdly Cirkel.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll pop it up too.
And you can find us online, and we drop, as I said, about 200 items a day.
Awesome.
Which is really fun. So it means that you might have a week of not finding anything, and then it's gold rush on Monday.
Love that.
But it's always chopping and changing. So we're definitely worth a follow.
Perfect. Awesome.
Thanks
Thank
so much.
you so much for having us. Thanks for sharing about your journey and obviously inspiring us to how we can make a little bit more conscious choices, whether you shop at the Cirkel or not. We hope to see you again.
Thank you.
We'll let you go enjoy your Friday night off.